Hello everyone and welcome to the YouTube channel of BeingACCA. This is Tushita Gupta, ACCA affiliate, and in this video we are going to be solving Lemic air question. This is a question from the past papers September-December 2023, which is the latest one that is available to practice for the March 24 attempt. So this is like a question which has absolutely nothing to do with the numbers. It's completely discursive. Even the 15 marks over here are discursive, as well as the next part that there is to this question, that's also a completely discursive part. So that shows you that not by merely practicing numericals you cannot clear PM anymore. PM requires you to practice the discursive part as much as the numerical one. Entire 20 marks of the paper are completely discursive with no numbers involved. So let's get started. Whenever we start, like I always tell you, whenever you start a section B or a section C question, you do not read the requirement at the first time. The first time you read the requirements, then you go to the case study, because when you read the requirements you know what you're finding and it's easier to look what you're looking for in the case study, because it's a huge big case study. So once we know what all is needed from us in the requirement, we'll be in a better position to highlight things for coming back later. Now let's read the requirement. It's a 15 marker requirement and we have to use the template which has already been provided by the examiner. So for each of the 6 dimensions that there are in the Fitzgerald and Moon's building block model, we have to identify one objective together with one corresponding performance indicator. So there's a space for objective, then there's a space for performance indicator, which could be used by a Lemic Air company to measure the performance. Objectives and measures should specifically relevant to Lemic Air. So the examiner has once again highlighted that all the rectified answers, all the answers which you have learned for building block model will be of no use over here. If you want to get marks, you have to write your answer specific to the case study, which is Lemic Air. Now you also have to justify your choice of objective and measure for each dimension. There is a space for justification also given. Now let's see what all dimensions, just to go through and revise once, what all dimensions are there. First of all, we have to find out something to do with financial performance, then with competition, then with quality, then with innovation, flexibility, resource utilization. So these are all the dimensions pertaining to which I have to find my material. Now let's go to the case study. Keep these objectives, these dimensions in your mind, just so that when these anything related to this comes up, we are able to highlight that. Okay, let's get started. Lemic Air was established 50 years ago in the country of Ireland as a premium airline. Following a global recession, it relaunched itself as a low-cost airline. So they've gone from premium to low-cost 2 years ago, focusing on providing seats on flights at the lowest possible price. So they are becoming a low-cost airline presently. It currently has a 35% share of the low-cost airline market. Okay. Its largest competitor has a 40% market share. So I remember seeing something about the competition. So when there is a dimension by competition, right? So we can use this information over there that we currently only have 35% of the market share and 40% is held by our largest competitor. So probably towards the performance indicator side, we can mention that the percentage of market here, the percentage of market share and we can compare that to compared to competitors, or we can also compare it to our last year's performance. So this year we have 35, maybe next year if we bring it to 38, that's still an improvement of 3%. So this can be the performance indicator that we can compare the percentage of market share compared to the competitors or compared to ourselves the last year. Moving on, Lemic Air's low-cost approach includes leasing planes with seats placed close together in order to fit more seats in. The engine in these planes uses a cheaper grade of fuel, which is more polluting to the environment. So we find something to do with the environment. Permitting only one piece of hand luggage per customer, that is, luggage can be carried on board the plane. Any additional bags have to be placed in the plane's luggage hold area, which is never full, at a cost of $50 per item. On an average, the customers are paying for 0.7 luggage hold bags per person to an industry average on low-cost airlines of 0.92. So this ratio is also lower for them. Industry average is 0.92 and their ratio is only 0.7. Using ground boarding, which uses buses often left with their engines running for some time to transport passengers between the airport terminal building and the plane. This is cheaper than using loading bridges, which are far more environmental friendly. So there is again something that they are doing to the environment. Requiring customers to pay a fee of 30. So you would understand why I am underlining everything to do with the environment. So if you see over here, the requirement B requires us to discuss the issues that Lemic Air is facing with regard to the management of the environmental costs. That is why environment is of importance over here. We have to write a 5-marker question explaining why environment is something that they're not taking care of. All of our highlights have gone. Nevertheless, okay. It was this that we had highlighted pertaining to the environment and this. Right. Moving on. Requiring customers to pay a fee of $30 each if they want to choose a pre-allocated seat. 25% of customers choose this option and industry average is 32. Over here also, the problem is that we are lagging here also. The industry average is 32 and our this thing is only 25%. So for the financial performance, this can be one of our objectives, that we want to increase our additional revenue from the sale of pre-allocated seats. Right, so this is something that we can set our objective as. So our objective can be to increase our additional revenue from the sale of pre-allocated seats. Now, how can this be, like, what performance indicator can be there to check whether we have been able to achieve this objective or not? So we can see the percentage increase in the revenue from the pre-allocated seats, or we can also compare it to the industry average on the next year. So this is how we can work this out. Right. So now we have to also give the justification that why are we saying this. To format your answer more neatly, you can take these points in the next line also. So for the justification, what I want to say is, how can we justify this? So we know that this company, Lemic Air, is charging low prices for the flights. So, we are a low-cost airline market. We are in the low-cost airline market. So, as it is, we are charging very less prices from the customers. So it is only the extra things which we can use to enhance our revenue, and also the seat bookings which are below the industry average. So the justification over here can be Lemic Air. Please also remember to use the name of the business multiple times in your answer, because it shows how well your answer is linked to the scenario. So Lemic Air is already a low-cost airline, which means the premium, the charges that it earns from customers are less, and it is only with the extras that they can enhance their revenue, and also the percentage of pre-allocated seat is lesser than the industry average. So this is how we have justified that why we are choosing this objective and why this should be the performance indicator. Now, let's read further. Offering only online check-in for flights to passengers free of charge. In-person check-in incurs a fee on the passenger, but the fee only partially covers the cost of check-in for Lemic Air. So what we're charging from the customer does not really, meet the cost that we are actually incurring for that check-in. So let's read further. It also leads to longer queues for those customers who just need to drop their bags off at the same customer service desk. This has led to complaints by customers who prefer the automated machines offered by competitors for both check-in and bag drop-offs. Improving cleanliness of planes, a reason for past customer complaints, while also attempting to reduce the minimum ground turnaround time on the tarmac between the flights by using cabin crew to clean planes. Average turnaround time in the industry is 50 minutes per flight. Making sure that prices are equal to or less than those of competitors so that the flight occupancy rate is high, 88% at Lemic Air in the last year. We also know that staffing issues have led to 220 flight cancellations in the last year, which has led to huge volumes of complaints and Lemic Air having to pay compensation to customers totaling $1.2 million in the last year. Lemic Air's CEO is hoping to start cross-training staff so that they can work both on the plane as well as in the airport. All customers who have traveled on a Lemic Air flight are asked to complete a questionnaire asking key questions about comfort, cleanliness, delays, etc. So this is a good thing that they're doing. They're collecting customer feedback so that they know where they are going wrong and they can improve on those areas. Now we are done with the financial performance dimension. Let's move on to the next one. So for competition, we have already set the performance indicator as the percentage of market share compared to the competitors or compared to our own share last year. So the objective can pretty much be to increase the market share and become the leading low-cost airline in the country where they are living, which is Sirland. In Sirland. So this can be their objective and how they can achieve if they are, how they can measure that whether they have been able to achieve this is to check the percentage of market share compared to their competitors or compared to their own share the previous year. And how can we justify this? We can justify this by saying that, we can say that we are only 5 percentage points away from our competitor, and if we increase the market share, then we will also have increased revenues and we will become the biggest company, which is a low-cost airline. So the justification can be that Lemic Air is only 5 percentage points away from becoming the from we can say from overcoming their competition, points away from their largest competitor, and if the market share is increased, the revenues will also increase. Right? If more people are coming in the airlines, we can also charge them for the extras that they take, and this can improve our revenue as well. So this way we are also done with the dimension of competition. Now we come to the dimension of quality. So in quality, like in the scenario, we have seen that the customers are not satisfied with multiple things about the company. First, we said that they are not happy about the cleanliness and they are also unhappy about like the drop-off thing. So the objective over here to improve the quality is to improve the customer satisfaction with the cleanliness. And how can this be, like, how can cleanliness be ensured? Cleanliness of the planes. So cleanliness will be done by improving the cleaning, by improving cleaning. So this is my objective, and what indicator can I use to measure whether I have been able to achieve my objective? So this can be reduction in the percentage of the customers who are complaining. So I can mention over here reduction in the percentage of customers who are complaining about the cleanliness in the aircrafts. So this can be my performance indicator. Or you can also say either there can be a reduction in the percentage of people who are complaining, or there can also be increase in the customer satisfaction as a whole. So probably they have a rating, overall rating that the customers do, and maybe it was worse in the previous year, and because we are improving on the cleanliness, the customers are more satisfied this year. And how can we justify this? So we have to justify this by saying that this is important because customers are complaining about the cleanliness, and if they choose other airlines due to this reason, this will lead to loss in market share as well as the revenues. So this is the justification that why we need to do this and have this as our objective. Now moving on to the next dimension that we have is innovation, and we're just left with flexibility and resource utilization after that. So let's go to innovation. So for innovation, the thing is that remember we read about the check-ins. So offering only online check-in for flights to passengers free of charge. So what they can do about this is that, you know, they are automated machines offered by the competitors. So they probably want those machines so that they don't have to queue in such long lines. So our objective regarding innovation can be to reduce the queuing time by investing in machines for both check-in and bag drop-off. So check-in and bag drop-offs. I can copy paste this over here. So this can be our objective, and then how can we measure this, whether we have been able to achieve this or not? So this can be measured by a reduction. We can see how much reduction has there been in the average queue time for the passengers, or you can say per passenger. Per passenger. So how much one customer has to wait in the line, that time can be compared, and if it is a reduction, that means we have been able to successfully meet our objective. Then how do we justify this? So see, it is very important to like invest in innovative processes because this thing is causing complaints. And again, if due to if customers, you know, people are going to remember that this was the problem that they faced, so probably they are not coming back to Lemic Air. So Lemic Air should invest in innovation in the form of automated machines for both check-in and bag drop-offs, because the customers complain about long queue times, and this can lead to loss of repeat business from the customers. That means the people who have already come, they will not come back to Lemic Air. So this is the justification. Then we move on to the next objective, next dimension, which is flexibility. Now, what do we mean by flexibility? Flexibility means how much we are able to, become flexible as per the situation. So we saw that the staff, the cleaning is taking a lot of time, and they are thinking to cross train the staff, cross training, so that they can work both on the planes as well as the airport. So the objective over here can be to increase the extent of cross training. So the objective over here, we can type to increase the extent of cross training of the staff, so that they are able to, they're able to move quickly. They are able to move quickly between the airplane and the airport, so that there are lesser cancellations of the flights, right? So this can be our objective. Now, how we are going to measure whether we have been able to achieve our objective or not? So this can be measured by increase in the number of staff who have been cross-trained. As simple as that. The objective is to cross-train the staff, increase the cross-training. So the indicator would be increase in the number of staff who have been cross-trained. And the justification for the same can be that, because of the lack of cross-training, Lemic Air has to, due to the lack of cross-training, Lemic Air has had to cancel a lot of Lemic Air has had to pay compensation to customers due to the flight cancellations and this will cross training will improve customer satisfaction, because flight cancellations, if they happen often, then customers can also be dissatisfied. So cross training will improve the satisfaction of both the customers as well as the employees, because the employees will also feel good about themselves, that they are flexible, they get more training. When the employees are learning, the company pays for their the expenses of their training, so they also feel good that the company is spending on them, and they are training them to be better employees. So this was about this. And then we have the last dimension of resource utilization. Over here, when it comes to resource utilization, we also saw that the occupancy is lesser. So, making sure that the prices are equal or less than those of the competitors, so that the flight occupancy rate is high. Currently, 88% is the occupancy rate, which means, well, if there are 100 seats in the airplane, 12 seats are going free. So that is why the objective over here will be to increase the average flight occupancy rate. Yeah, this will be our objective. And how can we measure this? This will be measured by an increase in the average occupancy rate. Increase in the average flight occupancy rate compared to previous year. So this is how we can know whether or not we have been able to meet this objective. And again, now we have to justify this. So we have the justification that we are a low-cost airline, Lemic Air being a low cost airline, relies on relies on planes being as full, or you can say occupied, as possible. So this is the justification. Now we have come to an end to the first requirement. Now let's get on to the second one. The second requirement is of 5 marks, and what it is asking out of us is that it wants us to discuss the issues that Lemic Air is facing with regard to the management of the environmental costs. So we had highlighted some points over here, that they are using a cheaper grade of fuel, first of all. Then they are also using the ground boarding, which is less environmental friendly than the loading bridges. So these are the problems. And anything else that we were able to identify? No. So this is all regarding the environment that we could identify. Now we have to discuss the issues with regards to the environmental costs. So when we talk about environmental costs, it is very clear from the situation that when it comes about the airline industry, there are a lot of environmental costs. The planes are polluting the environment a lot. The CO2 emissions are, so high. All the environment, who are the environmentalists are talking about this. So this is, having a lot of impact on the earth. So in this scenario, Lemic Air is cheap, using the cheaper fuel, which is more polluting. So and see, we had identified two things over here, so we will talk about this. Firstly, the cheaper grade of fuel being used in the airplanes, and the second thing that we will talk about is the that we had identified down below over here, that they're also using cheaper ground boarding, which is less environment friendly. So cheaper ground boarding uh, instead of passenger loading bridges, which are far more environmentally friendly. So these are the 2 points that we will take from the scenario and link with the scenario. So we will talk about both of these things over here, that they are also using the ground boarding rather than the passenger loading bridges. So then we will also talk about that these costs are what, if we have to classify these costs, these will be classified as the external environmental costs. Why? Because it is not Lemic here which is having to deal with the consequences. It is the people in general who are bearing the cost of these actions. So Lemic Air has to manage these costs to a minimum, because with like the approach that they're following, that they're a low cost pricing airline company, so the profit margins are very low in such a business, right? So it cannot afford to make decisions which would result in reducing these costs, because they will probably not be able to use a less polluting fuel. And if they want that sort of fuel, they will have to increase their costs. So they should also consider that the external costs will also be converted into internal costs if they do not do something about it. Because there may be a government in place who will be probably imposing fines on them because of polluting the environment so much. So they should probably do something about it. And although it is more difficult to quantify how how people are beginning to care about the environment, the customers, they are getting more and more aware. So probably some customers are also not choosing Lemic Air because they are using such things which are polluting the environment. So this can also lead to a loss in the market share and ultimately a loss in the revenue. So that is why Lemic Air should do something with regard to their environmental costs. So this is how we will wrap up this 5 marker answer. It is very comprehensive that we are covering both of these things, and then we are also telling them that it's an external cost. Then we're also telling the implications that they might not be able to use a heavier fuel, which is like good for the environment because of being low cost. But eventually, if they don't do that, they might have to bear fines and everything, and customers may also not come to them if they keep doing the same. So that is how we have discussed the issues that the company is facing. With this, we have come to an end to the questions that were there in the September-December 2023 past paper. The first question, which was Daisy Company, has already been solved in another video. So you can refer to that as well. I hope that this was useful. If you have any other doubts, you may feel free to reach out to me. You can leave a comment down below, or you can even DM us on Instagram at BeingACCA. Thank you so much for watching this. I'll catch you in the next one.